Welcome back, guys. This is really important. Do not pause this or close this window. I've got a really important thing. It's like, now how do we piece it together in terms of how do we structure the program in order to improve your athleticism, so get stronger, get faster, and get more powerful for your sport. Be it a court sport, track and field, even like a course. If you play golf, football, you name it. I think it's really important to understand, it's like there is a lot of information, and that information is good. Like, we have a plethora of information, and where do you go to get the best information for you? And I think that's kind of like, we have this lack of understanding, or we kind of go with like a band-aid approach or a blanket approach to a lot of training methodologies. And I think we kind of lack the base and understanding of where we actually need to go as a whole, but we need to be smart with that approach as well. The way I program for a lot of people, and I see a lot of good strength coaches in Australia and around the world, is like, you got to create a foundation. So what I mean by creating a foundation is like, you got to understand basic movement patterns, be able to move within a full range of motion. This is really important to prevent injuries, but also optimizing for further athletic success. What I mean by the basics is to be able to stabilize your core. What does that really mean? It's like, can you brace your core? So when people say brace your core, it's like no one knows how, but yet a lot of people lack the understanding is like, we can, bear with me on this, is use the feet to help brace the core, because everything is connected within the body. It makes total sense. If we had one system that wasn't connected to another system, we'd be dead. Full stop. So understanding how to brace is a simple concept, but people don't understand what it really means. It's like, you're doing push-ups and then people say brace. It's like, how do you brace? It's like, it doesn't make sense. So learn how to do a squat. Learn how to hip hinge. Hip hinge is be able to stick your hips back whilst keeping balance on both feet, to be able to do a lunge or a split squat, to be able to do push-ups, to be able to do rows, to dumbbell rows, to those movements are called horizontal push and pulls, but also do vertical push and pulls. Then we spoke about how to brace the core, which is an anti-extension exercise. Then we also spoken about, we didn't speak about this, but the importance of anti-lateral flexion. It's like, for example, if you're trying to fend someone off, you got to be able to brace that side. And if you're trying to cut, you got to be able to brace that. You got to be able to brace the contralateral side, so the other side. So you got to be able to shift into that weight, but also brace at the same time. These are critical components. The second thing you need to do is film. Film, review, and ask. These are the three biggest things that especially that I push as a coach, is you need to film your technique. Understand what you're doing. Give yourself feedback and point out all the little things. Like, get the basics down, then the little things will come. Ask someone who's better than you to critique it. And ask the question. Always ask someone who knows more than you, or who's qualified to give you feedback. This is where you're actually going to learn as an individual what you can and can't do, and they might prescribe an exercise to help you with that exercise and help you progress. It's all about progression at the end of the day. We don't have to regress. We don't want you starting at a high level, then have to bring you down in order to come up again, because that's demoralizing. No one wants to do that. Let's start with the basics. Build the basics. as you become competent and stronger, then we can start introducing harder exercises. Or not so much harder, but just increase the load. Progression at the end of the day. Progression is going to be your friend. We progress over time. Every 3 to 4 weeks, we change the exercises up. Still targeting the same muscle groups, but we slowly get better over time. But I want you to take this analogy, right? So think as if you're a seed. So we plant that seed in the ground and we water it. So watering, put in a nutrient dense ground. So I think of the food, nutrition, but also the actual training itself. We're allowing the seed to sprout roots into the ground. That in itself is developing foundation for the actual plant to grow. Or in this case, it's called a flower. It sprouts, develops a stalk. Over time, it starts to develop its petals. Then, as the petals start to show, that's when we start to peak. But the good thing is, with training, there is no real endpoint. We build the base, we advance the exercises, and then we peak, then we come back down and rinse the process. But we've got you starting at a higher level. I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as I did giving it. If you want to talk more, click below to book in a consult. One-on-one, free of charge, obligation free. This is your time to ask questions about your issues, any injuries, and how we can get you stronger for your athletic performance. Peace.